Sorry? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I understand. It's okay. Okay, so yeah, I will speak about a work which was done last year with Adrien Prodhomme, which was a PhD student at CEMAP, which is apart from Polytechnique, École Polytechnique in France, about some stochastic SIS epidemic model. So it's not about COVID because it's an SIS model. Okay, so basically there are 4 parts in my talk. So first, I will present you a model from Lajmanovic and York, which was proposed in the 70s by Lajmanovic and York for gonorrhea, and which is a sexually transmissible disease. So I will present you this model and the results from this article. Then I will present you some birth and death related model. So this is the first model is a model with differential equation. The second model is a model with a Markov chain on a finite state space. And the size of the state space is related to the size of the population. And when the size of the population goes to infinity, actually you go back to the first model. Okay. Then I will present you a version of this model, but with some randomness in the environment. So it will mean some randomness in the coefficient of transmission or cure of the disease. And this is a model that I have studied with my PhD advisor, Michel Benaim. And the 4 part is basically a mix between this birth and death model and this model in random environment. Okay. So let's begin with this Lajmanovic and York model. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. So it's a model with several groups, okay, to represent the evolution of a disease that do not confer immunity, such as, for example, gonorrhea, as I said. So there are basically only 2 categories in the population. Either you are susceptible or you are infected. And if you are infected, you can cure, but once you have cured, you don't have immunity. You go back directly to the category of susceptibles. Okay. But you assume also that the population is inhomogeneous in the sense that the way the disease spread in the population depends on some characteristics of the people. So here, as it is for well, Lajmanovic and York has in mind this application to gonorrhea, you can think about 2 groups in the population, basically, which are women and men. And it makes quite sense in the example of gonorrhea because there is a very different, it touches women and men really differently. Basically, women are asymptomatics, whereas men really suffers from the disease. So it's really different the way it acts on people, whether you are a man or a woman. Okay, so let's assume that you have D group in the population, and for E between 1 and D, Xi will be the proportion of F of infected people in group I at time t. Okay, so this is between 0 and 1, and it evolves according to an ODE here. So you have a set of ODE. Okay, and you have several coefficients. So we have this 1 minus xi, which is just the proportion of susceptible people in group I. Okay, you have the C, I, and J. This is the transmission rate of the disease from an infected of group J to a susceptible of group I. Okay, and then you have this DI, which is just the rate of cure of an infected in group I. Okay. So as there is only susceptible and infected in each group, we only have to record the proportion of infected in each group. Okay. So This model is actually quite simple in its behavior. It has two possible behaviors that will depend on the sign of an eigenvalue here. So lambda of A is the principal eigenvalue of the matrix A, where A is the matrix C minus diagonal D. So this is a matrix with D1, D, etc., D, and D on the diagonal. And this matrix is just the Jacobian matrix of the vector fields that defines my differential equation at 0. Okay. And so if this principal eigenvalue is non-positive, then the disease will disappear. So xt will go to 0 for every x0. Whereas if lambda A here is positive, then the disease will become endemic. So you will have a unique fixed point, x star, positive. So it means that all these coordinates are positives, and it is globally asymptotically stable. So it attracts every trajectory. Obviously, trajectory that does not start at 0, because when there is 0 infected in each group at time 0, the disease cannot spread. Okay, you just stay at 0 forever. Okay, so here you just need to have x0, which is non-zero. Okay, so you have a dichotomy here. Either the disease disappear or the disease become endemic, and it just depends on the sign of an eigenvalue of a matrix. And this matrix is, as I said, the Jacobian matrix of the vector field that defines the equation. And here's a little note, is that this lambda of A can also be expressed as the exponential growth rate of y of t, where y is the solution of the linearized system around 0. Okay. So the sign of lambda gives a priori the behavior of the linearization at 0, but you have some specific features of the vector field that made this local behavior actually global. Okay. So just a few examples. So it's in dimension 2. So you have 2 groups in the population. And here are fast portraits. So you have several initial conditions here. And you see that here it's 2 examples of 2 different environments. I mean, by environment, I mean a choice of a matrix C and a vector D of Q, such that the disease disappears. Okay, so every trajectory here converges to 0. Whereas here you have an example, 2 examples, where you have an endemic equilibrium here. So here it's a blue point here and here. Okay, so it represents the proportion of people that will be infected in each group when the disease will become ingrained in the population. Okay. So now I will speak about a birth and death model that we can derive from this Lajmanovic and York, or maybe a birth and death model that the Lajmanovic and York model can be seen as an approximation of this birth and death model. So we will see in this talk several stochastic models that are related to this Lajmanovic and York model. And a first way to add some randomness is to consider this demographical noise. So this means that you add some randomness in the event of an infection or a cure. You add randomness in the way these events happen. Okay, so this gives you basically a birth and death model. So I write here birth, but it's birth here will be an infection and death will be a cure, actually. Okay. So what is this model like? For each I, you have an integer ki, which is the size of the population in group I. And just the sum of the ki is k, which is the total size of the population. And we will have this xi of k, which is the proportion of infected in group I. So this is something which takes some discrete value, okay, in a discrete grid here from 0 to 1 with step 1 over ki. Okay, and a new function occurs in some group I at some rate. Okay, you see that. So here, this ki1 minus xi is just, this is the number of susceptible peoples in group I. Okay, and so this number, so you take a susceptible in group I, and it becomes infected at some rate. Okay, which depends on the proportion of infected in the other group and this transmission rate Ci and J. Okay, and you have a cure in group I at some rate. So Ki times Xi is the number of infected people in group I, and you have this rate of cure is D of I. Okay. So another way to write this is that Xk is a Markov chain on some space, which is just a product of this grid of size 1 over Ki, K1, etc., 1 over Kd. And you have this transition. So with the previous rate, you have a new infection in group I or a new cure in group I. And you also can see that this Markov chain is absorbed at 0. So when all the coordinates of x are 0, the Markov chain does not move anymore. Okay, it's just stay at 0. You don't have new infection when there is no infected people in no groups. Okay. And so this process is related to the solution to the Lagmanowicz and York model that I presented in the previous section via, for example, a well-known proposition which was due to Kurtz, is that in probability and on finite time horizon, xt of k will converge to xt, so to the deterministic solution to the ODE in probability, okay, as k goes to infinity. So as I said, the Markov chain is absorbed at 0. So I will consider this tau 0 of k, which is the first time that every coordinates are 0. Since xk is an irreducible Markov chain, so irreducible before 2 is 0. Okay, it's irreducible before 2 is 0, and it is on a finite state space. Then it is classical that in that situation, this tau 0 of k is finite almost surely. So in particular, you have a unique stationary distribution, which is a Dirac mass at 0. And this is not really interesting, okay, because it does not tell you any information on how maybe the disease spread in the population before to go extinct. Okay, you know that eventually the disease will become extinct, but you want to know a bit what happened before. Okay, so it's not a stationary distribution that you have to look to, but a quasi-stationary distribution, so QSD. And so I just give here the definition. We say that a probability measure μk is a QSD for the process xk if starting from μk and conditionally to the fact that at time t the disease is not extinct, then xt of k is still distributed according to mu of k. Okay, so it's a kind of metastable state. You have to condition to the fact that the disease is not extinct at time t, and if you make this this condition here, you have to have some stable behavior of μk. Okay, so once again, by classical results on finite on Markov chain on finite state space, you can prove that xk admits a unique QSD, which I'll call here mu of k. And so natural questions here are, can I say something about the behavior of tau 0 of k on of mu of k when k goes to infinity? And actually, yes, we can say something, and it has been done, notably in dimension 1. So it has been a lot studied in dimension 1. So in dimension 1, you just have this process. Okay, so just with C and D, which are just no scalars. Okay, and you have a theorem. So you have to look for in the literature. It's not really obvious in which article you can find every information, but if you look at these 3 articles, you can find the theorem I give you now. So assume that your initial condition x0 of k converge to some x between 0 and 1. Okay, and we have a matrix A here that is now just a scalar because we are in dimension 1. So it's just this C minus D. If A is strictly positive, this means that for the Lajmanovic and York model, the disease is endemic. Then the expectation of the extinction, of the time of extinction, is basically of order exponential with K. Okay, so it's really, really huge. And if you have a large enough population, you are really not likely to see the extinction of the disease. Okay, if you are in the case where A is equal to 0, so this means that for this ODE you have extinction of the disease, but a critical extinction in the sense that it is a sub-exponential convergence to the extinction. But in that case, the expectation time of the expectation of the extinction time is of equivalent to some constant times square root of k. Okay, so it still grows with k, but really slower than in the endemic case. And if you are in the case where a is negative, so this is extinction. Actually, for this model, you have extinction at an exponential rate. Well, in that case, the extinction time is of order log of k, so it's really, really small. And here you are likely to maybe observe the extinction, even though your population is very large, okay, because it's just in order of log k. Okay, so this is for the tau 0 of k. And in dimension 1. And to have some results in dimension D, we could use some results by Collet, Chazot, and Méléard that was proved for more general models, but that applied for this particular model. So if you look at this matrix A, so I recall that when lambda of A is non-positive, xt goes to 0, and if lambda of A is positive, xt converges to some x star, which has positive coordinates. Sorry. Here you can, by applying these results, you can prove that if lambda of A is positive, then the expectation of your time of extinction is of order exponential k. Sorry, growth exponentially with k. And you can have two constants here, d1 and d2, with satisfies this inequality. And moreover, you can prove that mu of k converges weakly to the Dirac mass at x star. So mu of k is the quasi-stationary distribution of xk. Okay, and the Dirac mass at x star is, in some sense, an invariant measure, a stationary distribution of this xt. Okay, so you can say that when the size of the population goes to infinity, the quasi-stationary states, so mu of k, just concentrate on the endemic stationary state of the limiting process, so this x star. Okay. So now I will describe a model in random environment. So we have just seen how we can add some demographical noise, but we can also add some environmental noise. Okay, so this is more about the coefficient of cure and of transmission of the disease that will evolve randomly. And this will give me a piecewise deterministic Markov process. I will explain you what is this process. So we assume that we have a finite space E, okay, and for each psi in E, I have an environment. And for me, an environment here is just a matrix C of psi and a vector D of psi. So a matrix of transmission of the disease and a vector of cure of the disease. Okay. And I need this environment to evolve randomly, so I will just take a Markov chain, psi t, on that I assume to be irreducible on the space E of the several possible environment. Okay, so xi will represent the random evolution of the environment. And I still have xi of t, which is a proportion of susceptible in group I. And it is nearly the same equation as before, except that this time the coefficient here of transmission of the disease evolves through time randomly via this xi of t. Okay, and it's the same here for the cure rate. Okay, and then the couple process x and xi is a piecewise deterministic Markov process. So it's a Markov process because of the property of xi of t and the property of a differential equation. And it's piecewise deterministic because between the jumps of xi of t, well, you are just solving an ODE, so it is completely deterministic. Okay, so between the jump of xi, the process is completely deterministic. Okay, so let's take an example. So I take my two environments that I defined before, so in dimension 2. So you have an environment xi1 and xi2. And I assume that I have a Markov chain psi t on this xi1, xi2, okay, with some rates, lambda1 and lambda2. So here is a numerical illustration. So you just have a trajectory starting from this point when the rates are small. So the environment stay a long time in a state, okay, before to switch to the other states. Okay, so you start in some environment. Say the red is xi1. Okay, at this point you have a switch in the environment. You go to xi2, etc., etc. So here, the disease also become extant. So it's quite, it sounds quite natural because in each of the environments, okay, here and here, the disease disappear. But when you switch quickly between the environment, you can completely reverse the trend. Okay, so here it is still the two same environments. So each of the environments. In each of the environments, the disease disappear, but when you're switching fast between them, you have something new. So here you have 5 initial conditions, and you see that the process seems to go in this area here that is away from 0. So it is as if the disease become ingrained in the population, actually. So here, the environmental noise, has changed the dynamic, and it has promoted the persistence of the disease in the population. Okay, so now a natural question is, how can we predict this? It is possible to predict this, and if yes, how? And that's what I've done with Michel Benaim. So actually, the strategy is the same as in the Lajmanovic and York model. You look at the linearization at 0. So you look at this process where you just linear process where you just take here the matrices that are the Jacobian matrix of your vector field. And if you look at this at the exponential growth rate of this process, well, you can prove that actually it is deterministic. Okay, so there is some lambda here, which is deterministic, and such that this limit is equal to lambda with probability 1, whatever your initial condition is. Okay. And so this lambda obviously gives you the behavior of this linear process, but as in the case of Lajmanovic and York model, it also gives you the behavior, the global behavior, so the behavior of the non-linear process. So if this lambda, so lambda is, sorry, I should have said maybe lambda is a Lyapunov exponent, okay, of y, and from the previous example, you see that it is not sufficient to look at the eigenvalue of A to have a clue on the sign of lambda, okay, because in my two previous examples, here and here, I am switching between the two same matrices, but the behavior is completely different. Okay, so it's not just the sign of the eigenvalue of my different matrices that will give me some clue on the sign of this lambda. Okay, so I was saying that when this lambda is negative, then xt goes to 0 almost surely. So you have extinction of the disease. Sorry. When lambda is 0, you also have extinction of the disease, but in probability. So it's a bit weaker, but you still have extinction of the disease. And when lambda is positive, well, you can prove that the disease becomes endemic in the sense that you have an endemic stationary distribution, mu star. So by endemic, I mean that this probability measure does not give mass to 0, okay, to the extinction set. So it's really a measure mu star that gives its mass to positive vectors. Okay, so it's really you have infected people in the population. So this is this mu star, and you can prove that xt and xt converge to mu star in law. Okay, as soon as x0 is not 0. Okay, so you have really here the counterpart of the Lashmanovich and York theorem, saying that you have a dichotomy and you just have to look at the sign of some guy that is linked to a linearization of the process at 0 to know what will happen for your process. Okay, and before to switch to the last part, with Adrien Prodhomme, we complement the result I had before with Michel Benaim, and we have to look at the P moment Lyapunov exponent. Okay, so I recall that lambda is some Lyapunov exponent in a classical sense, and you can also define a P moment Lyapunov function, Lyapunov exponent. Sorry, so it's you just look at yt power p. So yt is a linear process at 0. Sorry, and you look at how evolves this expectation of y of t power p, where p is in R, so it can be positive or negative or just 0. Okay. Well, we proved that this limit is actually well defined, and it does not depend on the starting point. Okay. So you have a function. You can define a function g of p that gives you the behavior of the moment of order p. Okay. So if g of p is positive, well, your moment of order p will grow exponentially. While if g of p is negative, your moment of order p will just go to 0 exponentially fast. Okay. And why I say moment of order p, p can be negative. So I'm not sure it's really conventional to say it's a moment, but okay. So you can define this function g of p, and it has an interesting feature. So j of 0 is 0, okay? But what is really interesting is that the derivative at 0 of j is lambda, so it's a Lyapunov exponent. Okay, you can also prove that this function is convex, and in particular, so you have a convex function 0 at 0, and with a derivative lambda. So if lambda is positive, you have a derivative at 0, which is positive. So if you go, if you look at negative p, at least for small p, g of p will be negative, okay? Because you start at 0 with a positive derivative. So if you go back for a p negative, you will have some negative value of g of p. And you want to look at the first time it becomes again positive, okay, when you look for p negative. So since you are convex, you have only two possibilities. Either it remains always negative, or at some points it's become again positive and then it stays positive. Okay. So this p star gives you, so the first point it becomes again positive, and it is finite. So in other words, it becomes again positive if and only if the point 0 is accessible for y, which means that you have a positive probability for your process to go close to 0, for the process y to go close to 0. Okay, so you don't need to remind here everything, but just I have to introduce this p star because it will play a role for future theorem. So as a consequence on the nonlinear system, so on X, is that for P, which is between 0 and P star, okay, if lambda is positive, you can actually build a Lyapunov function. Okay, so if you look at the expectation of xt to the minus p, is smaller than some gamma 0 here, which is between 0 and 1 times what happened times the initial condition for minus p. Okay, provided x is close to 0. Okay, so the much this gives you a Lyapunov function in the sense that 0 is repulsive. Okay, and the much more bigger is p, the much bigger your process is. 0 is repulsive for your process. Okay, that's the idea behind this. Okay, so I have still a few minutes to present you this this last part. So we have seen process with demographical noise, with environmental noise, and obviously we want to mix them together to have a process taking into account both demographical noise and environmental noise, and to have a birth and death model in one environment. So shortly, it is as before. You have Ki, which is the size of the population in group I. You have Xi of K, which is the proportion of infected in group I. And you have Xi of T, which is an irreducible Markov chain on some space E, which gives you the evolution of the environment. The space E here and Xi of T does not depend on K, okay? So the evolution of the environment and the states of the environment does not depend on the size of the population. And basically, it's as before. So when the environment is in some state Xi, well, you have a new infection in group I at some rate, depending on Xi. Okay, and in the same for Q, here you have a rate that depends on Xi. And alternatively, once again, you can write this as a Markov chain and some product space, and you have this transition, so a new infection, a new cure in group I, or you also have a switch of the environment at some rate here, Q of Xi and Xi prime, which does not depend on K. Okay. So this is really important that here it does not depend on K. Okay, and actually you can prove that this process, so it's a Markov chain, it converges when the size K of the population goes to infinity to the solution of the piecewise deterministic Markov process, so the process of the previous section. Okay, so it's converged exponentially fast in probability. And as before, you can look at the first time all of the coordinate of xt of k will be 0, and you can prove that this is finite. Once again, you have a Markov chain which is absorbed at 0, so it will hit 0 in finite time. And you want to know what happens when k goes to infinity. So what we proved is the following. So to have the behavior of tau 0 of k, I have to look to the process in infinite population. So the xt, which is my PDMP in random environment. Okay. So for this PDMP, we have a lambda, okay, a Lyapunov exponent that gives me the behavior of the process. Now, if this lambda is positive, so I remind you that when lambda is positive, the process X has an endemic probability measure, and the disease is endemic. Okay. Well, in that case, you can prove that the expectation of the extinction time grow at least as k power p for all p between 0 and p star. In particular, in the case where p star is infinite, you just have that this expectation of your extinction time grows faster than every power of k. Now, if p star is finite, you can actually prove that this extinction time in mean is really of order k to the power p star. So it's really here something different from the model with no random environment, in which the extinction time was of order exponential k, exponential d times k. Okay, here you have t to the power p star. And here you have something similar to the deterministic case, where if the exponent is negative, then the expectation time is of order log k. Okay. And to conclude, we can also say something about the quasi-stationary distribution. So it is classical to prove that xk and xi, this process, so this Markov chain, admits a unique QST, mu of k. And so I recall that for the PDMP, if lambda is positive, x and xi admits a unique endemic stationary distribution mu star. And if lambda is non-positive, then xt converges to 0. Well, I will prove that if lambda is positive, then the mu k here converge to mu star, so to the endemic stationary distribution. So this is like the previous theorem I show you, where mu of k converges to the Dirac mass at x star. So the quasi-stationary distribution here converges to the stationary distribution of the limiting process. Okay, and if you are in the extinction case, so if lambda is non-positive, then you can prove that the marginal of mu k on the coordinate x goes to 0, go to this Dirac mass at 0. So I see it's 40, but so I should end here maybe. So I have maybe two numerical simulation if you want to see them. But so just okay, here you have in black and red you have the PDMP. So it's in dimension 1. Here you have just one group in the population, and in blue you have the birth and death process in random environment. And here the size of the population is 1,000. So you see that it's really close. Okay, trajectory will remain close. And if you look at the stationary distribution, the quasi-stationary distribution, maybe I will show you this model. So here lambda is positive, and here in black you have the cumulative distribution function of mu k of the quasi-stationary distribution, and in blue you have the endemic distribution mu star. So this is a stationary distribution of the limiting process. Okay, and you can see that it seems that indeed mu k converges in low to mu star. Okay, in the case where lambda is negative, it seems that the cumulative distribution of mu k here just converts to the cumulative distribution of the Dirac mass at 0. So it seems to be correct here. Okay, so thank you very much for your invitation and for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this nice talk. And so we have some times for, say, some questions or comments. So please use the little hand there in the application, or just write on the chat.
Yeah, just a question about the possibility to get a large deviation principle for your
yes
deadlock time.
You mean a large deviation principle for I mean, this is a kind of large deviation principle for xt of k with respect to xt. But we will not so much interested in this kind of question. But I think yes, you can say something. I think it's a bit hidden in all what we have done, some large deviation principle, but we don't state it explicitly because this was not our point. Maybe so. Yeah, I am not so at ease with large deviation, so I just don't want to say something wrong. No.
I have a question, Eduard. Maybe the idea of environment is not just the environment, but the response of the individual to the environment. So in some situation, you may imagine that the individual's responds in a certain way to the spread of the disease, So they change the policies, say, of vaccination, for example, or social distancing. So the environment, in principle, could be considered as disease dependent. So the environment could be dependent on the state of the disease. Have you considered this situation? So when the Psi process, the process Psi, depend on the current state of the
exactly. So actually here for simplicity, I just present it like that, but actually we make the work with here Q, which depend on X. Okay. So rate of switch from the environment Psi to Psi prime actually depend on X.
Okay.
And basically it does not change the results.
Perfect.
Okay. I mean, it will obviously change maybe. Well, for example, for the PDMP, we change the possibility to have lambda positive or negative. But I mean, once you have fixed this function Q, so you fix with your PDMPs, so you fix your lambda, etc., everything is the same. Okay, so all the results here does not depend on. Well, this maybe depends a little bit because you have to add the fact that the environment stays the same. So here you have something which is which go less fast to 0, but still it works. And you still have these results. So this asymptotic behavior for this extinction time and for the stationary distribution. So yes, actually we have done this work with Q that depend on X.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, I would like to ask maybe one or two questions.
Yes.
So the first one is just a clarification about the proposition about the negative moments, before the last part. So your result is saying that this P star is finite if and only if the absorbing state is accessible. So in this case, actually, you have a negative, I mean, inside the expectation, the quantity inside the expectation becomes infinite at some time because the set is accessible, right?
Oh, yeah, but it's accessible in the sense that you see here, y of t is just a solution of, where is it? Yeah, y of t is a solution of this differential equation. So it cannot become 0 in finite time.
Okay.
Accessible in the sense that you can go close to 0. So you can enter in every neighborhood of 0, but you cannot hit 0 precisely.
Okay. So because if lambda is positive, then you have convergence to a stationary distribution, which does not charge 0, but it may happen that the process comes arbitrarily close to 0.
Exactly.
And
in
so this case, you have P star finite.
Yes, and if you have P star finite, actually in that case, the mu star, so the stationary distribution that does not give mass to 0, as a support that contains 0. So 0 is in the support of your probability model. And this is the reason why you have this here you have this power P star here. You don't have something which is exponential for the extinction time here. Because your process can come close to 0. So this is really the difference with the deterministic model. So in the deterministic setting, when you have this X star just drives you away from 0, okay, for the deterministic model, for the ODE. And your birth and death model just follow, and it has a really small probability to go away from some neighborhood of this X star. But when you are in the case here when P star is finite, basically it could mean that one of your environment can lead you to 0. So if you follow sufficiently for a long time this environment, you will go close to 0, and then once you are sufficiently close to 0, you have a macroscopic probability to become extant for your process. Okay, so basically that's what happened here.
Okay.
And actually, this result was conjectured by Nicolas Baccaer. So he gives some clues on what it should be true in dimension 2 and with in dimension 1 and with 2 environments, and actually we proved it in full generative.
Thank you. Could I ask a second question?
Of course. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was wondering about, maybe I missed something in the very end of your talk because I was interrupted. I'm sorry, but could you say a word about the method? So how do you prove
Yes.
the convergence of the last result? So, this one here.
Yeah. Actually, it is hidden, and because I take too long time, but it was hidden. So I don't want to go too far, but so you have two key things. Is that so you need a bit more to just control the difference between xtk and xt. You have to control some relative difference between the two. Okay, so you want to, when xt is small, you want also xtk minus xt to be small according to xt actually. Okay. So this is really important and gives you some more something much finer around 0. Plus fin. Bon.
Okay.
Okay. So,
and you do this by comparing with branching processes or something like that?
This is just
or just Lyapunov function?
Yeah, no, just this first it is just you write xt of k as so xt of k basically follows the same dynamics as xt plus some martingale terms, and you just have to have some kind of large deviation for the martingales and it gives you the result. Basically, that's what's here, and then you can you can transform in some sense this Lyapunov function for the process xt to some kind of Lyapunov function for your process xt of k. Okay, and so thanks to this proposition. And now what is really interesting is you can construct actually a family of Lyapunov function, but with constant here that does not depend on k. Okay, so you have here a Lyapunov function phi1 of k for xtk, but this theta1 and this c. I'm sorry, what is b? There is no b in my
in the function phi1.
Yes.
Oh
yes, in phi1. Yeah, actually, yeah, it's in phi1. Okay, so here this does not depend on k, and this helps you to prove that your sequence mu k is tight in the interior of your domain without 0. I mean, okay. Plus, you have some kind of Lyapunov function from above. Okay, so you have a kind of phi1, phi2
to control the extension.
Yes. Okay, but basically this is a key point. But really the key point is this estimate here, and then yes, you have work to do. But once you have this in hand, it's
and that estimate there. It seems to me that the key results before hidden there is Kurt's result. Am I right or not? Or say the same technique, just like
yeah, maybe the same techniques. It's not so complicated. But here you have to. I mean, this is not true in full generality because to prove that you use the fact that the vector field that define X, the equation of X is 0 at 0. So,
Yeah.
so you use something of the vector field. So it's not true in full generality, but yeah, the techniques are basically the same. You see, if you look at the estimate here, you just have here, sorry, you just here have a norm of X.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you look at the previous estimates, it's the same, but you don't have the norm of X actually. So,
Yeah.
so it's just come from yes, it's from martingale. So it's a large aviation for martingale. It's a kind of chain of bonds for martingale. And,
right. Okay. Thank you. I think that perhaps if there are some other questions, we can continue later discussing with Edward, since we have we are now getting late for Miguel Lourdes' talk. So please, Miguel, let me welcome Miguel, who is coming from Swansea, the computational laboratory, Swansea. Please